Let's get started with our first news. Dana White has finally addressed the talk surrounding a potential crossover fight between Ilia and Terence Crawford, and his answer leaves little room for interpretation. In the build-up to this weekend's huge boxing event, there has been plenty of chatter about whether the UFC lightweight champion might step into the boxing ring against one of the sport's pound-for-pound kings. While Dana has made it clear that boxing is becoming a major focus for him, he isn't interested in pursuing this particular matchup. This weekend marks a significant moment for the combat sports world, as Canelo Alvarez and Crawford are set to square off in what is already being called one of the biggest fights in recent memory. With Dana now stepping deeper into the boxing landscape, speculation naturally arose about potential crossovers between MMA and boxing. After all, the UFC president is no stranger to orchestrating historic spectacles, with Conor's 2017 showdown against Floyd Mayweather still standing as one of the most talked about events in sports history. Ilia added fuel to the fire during Fight Week in Las Vegas by directly calling out Crawford, stating that he would finish the boxing superstar if they ever met inside the ring. The statement grabbed attention instantly as fans began to wonder if Dana might entertain the idea. When Crawford was asked about Ilia's bold challenge, he quickly brushed it off. The undefeated boxing champion dismissed the call-out, making it clear he wasn't taking the notion seriously. Not one to stay silent, Ilia fired back, suggesting that there's a fundamental lack of respect between boxers and mixed martial artists. In his eyes, fighters from both sports should be acknowledged for their skills and willingness to step into the arena. His comments reignited the age-old debate over how top MMA fighters would fare in a straight boxing match, and vice versa. Of course, the biggest precedent for such a crossover remains Conor's clash with Mayweather. That fight, promoted heavily by Dana, not only broke records but also blurred the lines between the two sports like never before. For many fans, it proved that under the right circumstances, crossover fights can become cultural phenomena. Naturally, with Dana now putting so much focus on boxing, the idea of another spectacle seemed at least somewhat plausible. However, when Dana was directly asked whether Ilia and Crawford could ever share the ring, he cut the speculation short. His response was blunt, almost dismissive, and left no doubt about his stance. In his words, "I certainly hope not." With that short but powerful statement, Dana put an immediate end to the conversation. While Dana is clearly keeping his boxing plans alive and has a vision for how the sport will evolve under his guidance, Ilia versus Crawford will not be part of it. For now, the focus remains on the monumental fight this Saturday night between Canelo and Crawford, a clash that has the potential to shake the entire combat sports world. As Dana continues to build his role in boxing, fans can expect big moves ahead, but Ilia's call-out is one idea that won't be making the cut. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We're constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That's why we truly appreciate it. If you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Move on to another news. Khamzat has been running through opponents and making himself one of the most feared fighters in the sport, but according to several respected voices in MMA, there are real challenges on the horizon that could test him in ways we haven't seen yet. While his dominant performance against Duplessis sent a powerful message to the entire middleweight division, fighters and analysts are already lining up to point out the names they believe could truly give him problems. One of those names is Nassourdine Imavov. Israel Adesanya has gone on record saying he thinks Imavov has the right tools to create serious issues for Khamzat inside the octagon. The French contender has shown flashes of brilliance, and fans are already buzzing about the possibility of seeing that matchup play out next. But while Adesanya and others see Imavov as a big test, not everyone agrees he's the most dangerous option available. Former interim title challenger Kelvin Gastelum recently gave his take, and he didn't hesitate to single out one particular fighter as the most legitimate threat to Khamzat's reign. In his eyes, the man to watch is Artar. Gastelum explained that if Artar can get past Anthony Hernandez in their upcoming fight on October 18, he could position himself perfectly for a clash with Khamzat. And in Gastelum's mind, that would be a fight fans should not overlook. In his interview with MMA Fighting, Gastelum broke it down with conviction. He said, "Man, I really think Brady is someone to look at as a serious threat. I think he's the man that could be the one." Gastelum went on to highlight Briare's physical attributes and fighting style as unique obstacles that Khamzat would have to navigate. He even pointed back to Briare's bout with Robert Whittaker as an example, saying he was blown away by the SII's difference. As someone who had fought Whittaker himself, Gastelum was stunned that Brady made Whittaker look like a lightweight. That kind of size and physical presence, combined with Brady's grappling skills, is what makes him stand out as a possible kryptonite to Khamzat. Fans of course would love to see Khamzat tested against either Ilia or Chimaev. Both names carry intrigue, and both bring qualities that are different from what Khamzat has faced so far. A clash with Ilia would pit two powerful grapplers against each other, creating a stylistic battle that hardcore fans would eat up. On the other hand, a fight with Chimaev would bring speed, precision, and slick striking into the equation, forcing Khamzat to adapt in new ways. But Gastelum isn't the only one weighing in on this conversation. A retired MMA legend has also chimed in, and his opinion took many by surprise. Rather than pointing to the obvious contenders already circling around the division, he suggested that a shock fighter could actually be the one to dethrone Khamzat. While he didn't dismiss Ryer or Chimaev as threats, his words made it clear that the story of Khamzat's future might not be as straightforward as people think. The growing narrative around Khamzat is no longer just about his dominance, but about the looming challenges that could finally test him. Whether it's Brady with his size and grappling, Chimaev with his striking, or an unexpected fighter waiting in the wings, the message is clear: Khamzat's path forward won't be simple, and the next chapters of his career could be the most dramatic yet. Move on to another news. Carlos Prates has been making plenty of noise ahead of his massive showdown with Leon Edwards, and he isn't shying away from giving bold predictions about the biggest fights in the sport. In a recent interview, Prates addressed not only his own fight with Leon, but also shared his thoughts on the blockbuster matchup between JDM and Islam Makhachev at UFC 322. His comments have stirred up plenty of interest, and fans are paying close attention to the confidence he's bringing into Fight Week. When it comes to Leon, there's been a growing narrative that the former champion is past his prime. Many believe that his recent setbacks are signs that the end may be near for one of the welterweight division's most respected names. But Prates isn't buying it. He made it very clear that he refuses to underestimate Leon, reminding everyone that a lion is always a lion. In his words, he doesn't look at Leon as someone whose best days are behind him. Instead, he expects to face the best version of Leon, a fighter who still has the hunger and skill to compete at the top level. Prates said that's why his own preparation has been so intense. Every move, every strike, and every detail matters in this fight. He's training for the best possible Leon, not a faded version, and that's the mindset he's bringing into the octagon. For Leon, this co-main event is do or die. A loss here would mean a 3-fight skid, and that would raise serious questions about his future among the division's elite. For Prates, on the other hand, this fight could be his ticket straight into title contention. After all, he's coming off a massive knockout win over Jeff Neal, and a victory against a former champion would instantly skyrocket his stock. Stylistically, both men are primarily strikers, which has some analysts debating whether this fight will be fireworks or a chess match. Some pundits believe their striking styles could cancel each other out, turning the bout into a slower, more tactical battle. But either way, the stakes are incredibly high, and both fighters know it. While discussing his own fight, Prates also weighed in on JDM versus Islam. Many view Islam as the favorite going into UFC 322, and Prates didn't deny that. But at the same time, he gave huge credit to JDM, saying the Aussie has grown tremendously as a fighter over the years. He pointed out that JDM had been sidelined for nearly 2 years, but in his comeback, he showed impressive development, especially in his ability to defend takedowns against elite opponents like Bilal Muhammad. According to Prates, those improvements make him believe JDM can pull off the upset. He went as far as to predict that JDM will win a decision over Islam, a bold call considering Islam's dominance in recent years. Prates wrapped up his thoughts by emphasizing once again that he's preparing for the best possible version of Leon. He doesn't believe the narrative that Leon is done or past his prime. Instead, he sees this fight as the kind of test that will prove his own place in the division. Between his confidence in himself and his surprising prediction about JDM, Prates has made it clear that he's entering Fight Week with conviction, hunger, and a belief that big moments are ahead. Move on to another news. Ilia has quickly become one of the most talked about stars in MMA, and with good reason. The undefeated UFC lightweight champion has shown time and time again that he is among the very best in the world. Fans are desperate to see him continue building his legacy inside the octagon, and that's why there's been so much anticipation around his very first title defense. While some have entertained the idea of a crossover fight between Ilia and boxing legend Terence Crawford, most of the MMA community is far more interested in watching him take on the killers already waiting for their chance in the UFC. Unfortunately, the latest update Ilia provided about his next fight has left many fans feeling frustrated. During a recent WOW press conference, Ilia was asked directly about his first title defense, and his response wasn't what supporters were hoping to hear. With complete honesty, he admitted that as of right now there is no clear timeline for when he will step back into the cage to defend his belt. His exact words were, "Well, I have no idea at all when I will defend my title. The truth is, we are in negotiations. We are in the middle of negotiating everything, adjusting the schedule for the remaining part of the year or next year, so I can't give you a specific answer." That short but very telling response speaks volumes. It means the UFC is still ironing out the details regarding his return, and there isn't a locked-in opponent or date yet. For a fighter like Ilia, who has skyrocketed in popularity and momentum, this kind of delay feels especially disappointing to fans who have been eagerly waiting for his next bout. The hunger to see him tested against top contenders is real, and now everyone will have to keep waiting. When pressed further about a possible opponent, Ilia only added to the uncertainty. He revealed that he doesn't have anyone lined up at this moment. No challenger has been confirmed, no negotiations have reached that stage, and that leaves the lightweight title picture in limbo. Considering how stacked the division is, with names like Arman, Merab, and even crossover talk with Khamzat floating around, this news leaves fans speculating endlessly about who will ultimately get the shot. This kind of silence and uncertainty is tough for the MMA community because Ilia is seen as one of the faces of the sport right now. He's undefeated, he's charismatic, and he's one of those rare champions who feels destined for superstar status. His performances so far have backed up all the hype, and his first title defense has the potential to be a defining moment in his career. That's why this update is such a letdown. Instead of excitement about a confirmed fight, we're left with questions and no real answers. For Ilia, the negotiations are clearly part of a bigger plan. Whether it's timing, venues, opponents, or larger promotional opportunities, the UFC is playing the long game with one of its brightest stars. But for fans, every passing month without clarity only builds the anticipation and the frustration. One thing is certain: when the announcement finally does come, it's going to feel huge. Until then, all we can do is wait, because Ilia himself has made it clear that right now, nothing is set in stone. Move on to another news. Garry has fired back at Sean Brady after being accused of avoiding him, and he isn't holding back. According to Garry, the idea that he would ever duck anyone is completely false. He made it clear that he has never turned down a fight in his life and never. Right now, he says he's in active negotiations with the UFC, and his focus is on securing the biggest opportunity possible. Brady, who recently fought Leon Edwards, was reportedly told behind the scenes that he'd be the next #1 contender. But because Islam is moving up divisions, the situation has shifted, forcing Brady to fight again. That hasn't stopped him from calling out Garry, but Garry insists he's the one carrying the real momentum and deserves to be recognized for it. He's quick to point out that he has already proven countless times that he's willing to fight anyone, anywhere at any time. In Garry's eyes, if he does end up fighting Brady, it should come with one major condition: the winner must be guaranteed the next title shot. He doesn't want any confusion, no last-minute changes, and no skipping the line. As he put it, there's no Usman coming up, no Carlos Prates sneaking in, no Shavkat suddenly jumping the queue. He believes he is next, and the UFC should publicly confirm that before the fight even happens. Garry also gave credit to the promotion, saying that when the UFC gives its word, they usually stick to it. That's why he wants the organization to announce clearly that his fight with Brady would be a #1 contender bout. In his mind, that settles everything and puts him in the exact position he's been working towards since the start of his career. Closing out his statement, Garry told Brady to stop talking and simply show up on fight night. As he bluntly put it, Brady just needs to step into the octagon and lose, while Garry does all the heavy lifting to prove once again why he's the future of the welterweight division. Move on to another news. Ilia recently got emotional and even broke down in tears, and the reason behind it has surprised a lot of people. The UFC lightweight champion is known as a savage inside the cage, crushing his opponents with ruthless precision. But outside the octagon, there's a completely different side to him, and it was revealed by none other than his own mother during a recent interview with a Georgian channel. She sat down and shared details about both of her sons, Ilia and his brother Alexandra, and what she revealed about the champ caught many fans off guard. Everyone knows Ilia as this unstoppable force, but his mom painted a picture of a young man with depth, passion, and sensitivity. She spoke proudly about Alexandra, calling him an exceptionally talented dancer who also sings remarkably well. Then she shifted the focus to Ilia, explaining that he has always had a deep love for poetry. According to her, Ilia regularly reads, and his favorite works are poems about the legendary Georgian painter Niko Pirosmani. She said that every time he dives into those verses, he becomes so moved that it often brings him to tears. It's an image that clashes with the public perception of him as a stone-cold warrior, and yet it makes sense. Great fighters often carry with them an equally strong emotional and creative side, one that fuels their passion for life and their drive to succeed. This isn't the first time Ilia's reading habits have been in the spotlight. Fans might remember when he faced criticism on Joe Rogan's show after saying he loved books but failing to name one. That moment had people doubting whether he actually read, but his mother's words have now cleared the air. The truth is that Ilia reads consistently and has a genuine appreciation for literature. His connection to poetry is so strong that it taps into his deepest emotions. Imagine the same man who dominates inside the cage sitting quietly, reading about Pirosmani and being so touched by the words that tears roll down his face. That contrast shows just how complex he really is. His mother didn't stop there. She explained that Ilia and Alexandra have always been competitive, especially during their time in Georgia, where they entered countless tournaments. Each time they visited Spain, they would bring back huge bags filled with trophies and medals. She described them both as her greatest pride and went on to highlight just how extraordinary Ilia really is. According to her, he's the type of person who can wake up one morning with a brand new idea and actually turn that idea into reality. She said he can make anything happen when he puts his mind to it. On top of his athletic and creative talents, Ilia is also remarkably intelligent. His mom proudly pointed out that he speaks several languages fluently, including German, Georgian, English, Spanish, Russian, and even Megrelian. That kind of versatility adds another layer to his already impressive character. He isn't just a fighter, he's a thinker, a creator, and a man with a deep appreciation for art and culture. With his upcoming title defense in early 2026, whether it's against Paddy or Justin, fans now see him in a new light, not just as a champion, but as a person with powerful emotions and limitless potential.